platforms, but 3 digital platforms that you can use already. Like if this was the only 3 that you ever used for real estate specifically, you're probably going to be okay in terms of your digital presence here in the Philippines. Teka, ang daming chat. As well backs. Right, let's take a look at Facebook first. So in the Philippines, Facebook is more often than not the first and sometimes the only digital channel for most businesses. And that makes a lot of sense. You know, if you have a Facebook page, that's almost a given and almost an expectation na rin. Like as a broker and as a company, you gotta have a Facebook page. We are one of the biggest Facebook populations in the world. I mean, for good or for bad reasons, we are one of the biggest in the world. We have about 74 million Facebook users in 2022 so far. However, I want to give a caveat that the number of 74 million is most likely accounts and not necessarily people who are on Facebook. So the number of people is probably closer to 60 million than 70 million. But that's still a lot of people. That's like 6 times the population of Hong Kong. So that's a lot. And out of the 63% of Filipino adults who use the internet, 99% of them are on Facebook. So it is one of those platforms that over the last 10 years, we've seen grow from medyo niche, 25% lang of the online population on Facebook, up to about 99% or even closer to 100% na in the Philippines as of this year. There are so many opportunities for you on Facebook. Number one, there's a very large captive audience, as you can see from the numbers. The second is that it's familiar and natural to a lot of Filipinos. The third is that it's a straightforward marketing channel for you. It's especially if you have a Facebook page as a business. It's nearly an expectation that if you are a business on Facebook, you are the official account. Therefore, it's a good way for you to deliver your content and your messages in an official capacity. The fourth is if you're boosting your content on Facebook, there is the ability to segment your target audience, and this is critical. You do not want your content to be seen by everybody, unless it's awareness, then great. But if you're going for consideration and action, the more specific it is, the better. One of the ads that we've ran before for a car company, it was only talking to a very specific city in Metro Manila. I think that was for Marikina. I think it was for Marikina only at one point. We wanted to experiment. Can we get more people just from this city? And it was Marikina because the dealerships were around the north area, northeast, I think, mostly north. So it made sense that it was that city. Because if we tried to push other cities like Laguna or Cavite, in Cavite or Laguna, it doesn't make sense because malayo siya from the dealership, and it wouldn't have translated into a sale. So be careful with your audience segmentation. Age and demographics are also quite important. I see a lot of mistakes from brands that have premium or expensive products, and then it's being seen by teenagers. How does that make sense? Unless that teenager is it's a kid of a multimillionaire or billionaire, they probably will not be buying a condo out of whim. So also be careful, right, with how you're segmenting your audiences. Make sure it's relevant to a very specific group of people. The balance here is that the more people you reach, the lower your chances are of conversion. It's a weird thing because chances is a percentage. So your percentage is smaller if you're talking to everybody. But if you pick a very specific audience group, it's usually better, lalo na for lead generation, because that allows you to focus your efforts. An example here is when I was working as a biz dev person, I call it my hit list. For the most part, 80% of my prospects should check these boxes. So they have to be publicly traded, they have to have at least 1,000 employees. Ano pa ba hinahanap ko? They need to spend at least 100 million pesos a year on marketing. If they don't fit any of these three, I'm probably not gonna even send them a message. Then I have my 20%, which is your exceptions. Maybe they don't spend 100 million a year on marketing. Maybe it's just 50, but the potential is very high to get all of that 50. Then I will approach them. So think about how you're segmenting a smaller group of audiences, because that will focus your money, brains, and time. Yep, so Ara Jane says it right. Narrowing down your target audience on campaign ads. If you're talking to 1 million people, it's probably not as effective as talking to 10,000 people. And finally, for Facebook, there's visible success metrics. You can literally see if your campaign's working, either through your page insights or through the performance on the page. If you have a consideration campaign and people are asking where's your location, how to contact you, then you know that it's visibly successful. If you have an awareness campaign and that piece of content or video is meant to be seen or meant to be watched, you can see how many people are viewing it. And that's great because that provides you that visible campaign metric. Secondly, Facebook also tends to skew younger in the Philippines. There's a lot of talk about how Facebook is for the older generation. Yes, that's true. But another fact is that we are a very young country. The median age of the Philippines is not even 26 years old. We're young. We're a Gen Z country for the most part. So if you see this number and if you see this data, it tells you that the way you communicate with your audiences on Facebook should reflect this. You're talking to Gen Zs and millennials. That's the vast majority of Filipinos on Facebook. Therefore, your content has to be reflective of the behavior, the needs, wants, motivations of Gen Zs and millennials. When I was working on a premium automotive brand naman, it was weird because their sales data was men, almost 100, I think 100% men above the age of 55. But if you look on the streets in BGC and Makati, anyone who's driving that car is not a man, usually, and not over the age of 55, definitely. It's all young people. It's people who look like they just graduated from college, driving luxury cars. What does that tell you? There's a disconnect from the sales data and the buyer or the end user data. End user versus sales data. Your sales data could be telling you one thing, but what I'm telling you here is that it might not reflect reality. It just reflects who's paying, but not the user. And it's the user who will tell stories about your brand. It's the user who will be posting the retention and advocacy content. So if your sales data is showing that most people paying for properties are men aged 55 and above, that is true from a paying perspective, but the person who made that decision is probably not that person, right? So you have to balance that as well, that your sales data might not necessarily reflect the realities on the ground. Okay, it could be a young person looking for their first condo. It could be a newly married couple who are asking for a condo as a wedding gift. It happens. So you want to talk more towards the Gen Z and millennials because they represent an income earning age. Super important. They're usually new families or dual income, no kids, no children rather, dinks, dual income, no children. This is actually my wife and I right now. We kind of just want to enjoy na kami muna, right? So disposable income tends to be higher as well for new families and dinks. And there's a higher possibility of retention and loyalty. How can I say that? Because you're capturing your audience younger. If you sell a condo or a retail space to somebody who's at the age of 30 and the experience is good, you might be able to sell to them again when they're 40, when they're 50, when they pass it on to their kids and tell them, this broker, this property developer, okay sila. In fact, the reason we bought their property is kasi sila na magbibigay ng consideration points. So by capturing a younger target audience, it's a better long-term play for you. Plus, from a numbers game, mas marami lang talaga ang Gen Z and millennial target audiences. That's just how it is. So I would say, if you're going to be on Facebook, talk to a younger group of audience, and the way you communicate as a broker should also skew to a younger tone. You don't necessarily have to sound like the respectable tito of the family. Baka that's not how it works anymore. Only because your audiences are getting younger and younger. So 5 key insights on your target audience on Facebook and how you maximize your presence on Facebook. Number 1 is to focus on awareness. Make the most of Facebook's large Filipino population in the platform. If you need to have an awareness campaign, focus on Facebook. But second is to try and be specific. You don't want to talk to everyone. Try to have multiple target audiences, but very niche target audiences. Is it the fresh grad who works at Unilab? Why do I say Unilab? Because the only reason I would go to Estancia before is after a Unilab client meeting. They were my clients for 6 years. So when Estancia first opened, we're like, wow, there's a cool mall finally nearby here. Otherwise, we'll have to go back to Makati or BGC to have lunch after a call or after a meeting. So you can have multiple target audiences, but very specific ones. Maybe it could be employees from a certain building or a certain office. Maybe it could be a certain group of kind of family that you want to talk to. It's a family with one kid. Kasi it's a 2-bedroom condo that you're selling, right? So try to be specific, broad enough, but specific enough as well. Third is to think about the long game when it comes to Facebook. You want to have constant presence on Facebook, especially because you have a long customer journey. If people are not necessarily reacting to your content, there are only two explanations for that. Number one is you're not boosting it. On Facebook, you have to boost. Only because it's a media channel, not necessarily just a free social media platform. If you're a business, you have to earn the right to be in front of your customers. So boosting is a good spend. It's a good way to use your budget if you have budget. And it doesn't have to be a lot. For the fitness center that my friends and I started in 2015, our boosting budget was 30,000 pesos a month. You might think that's a lot of money, 30,000 pesos a month. But the math behind it made sense. The membership is 3,000 per member. So if we close 10 members every month, just 10 members every month, we'll break even. And if we close 11, we're ROI plus 3,000. So it makes a lot of sense, right? And that's a 3,000 a month membership, and they're usually a member for 1 year. So it's a very good return on spend for us. So that's how you should also measure your budget. I call it the budget appetite. You might be asking, right, so how much budget should I assign for my boosting? I can't tell you how much, but I can tell you how to kind of estimate the math. Think about how much you're willing to spend to get to a break-even point. How much commission you're getting for easy math, 1 million peso condo, and your commission is, I don't know how it works, but let's say 5%. So 5% of 1 million. Are you willing to spend that 5% on Facebook ads? If you are, then as long as you make one sale from all of your ads, you're at break-even. And if you make 2 sales, then you have an ROI of a +1. How is post boosting different from ads? It's the same thing, Christina. Ads are materials that sell your product. That's really what it is. Then it's either boosted, paid, or it's organic, unpaid. On Facebook, the more organic pieces of content you have, it's not really a good use of your effort. So I would rather that you do 2 posts per month, but both are boosted, rather than 20 posts per month, but none of them are boosted. That's not a good use of your energies and your resources. Instead of spending money to make more, spend money for one content to reach more. Those are 2 very different concepts. Prior to 2015, you could still make a lot of content, like 3 times a week. Pwede pa yan. That's okay for real estate. But after 2015, 2016, when the media capabilities of Facebook became more important than the organic reach, you have to spend your resources on extending the lifespan of your content. Think about extending lifespan rather than having a lot. Okay? Fourth is to focus on metrics that matter. It's very easy to be distracted on Facebook. If your competitor is getting 1 million views on their content, it can make you feel bad. But think about the objective. Baka they're going for awareness. Therefore, they need that many views. We are going for conversion. So you don't need 1 million views. You need 5 messages per day from people who are interested. That's the metric that matters for you. So don't get distracted. Fifth insight is to build a reputation. The thing about Facebook is that people can leave comments and can leave testimonials or reviews if your page has that active. So you want to make sure that you're showing a good experience for other people. You know how you would visit a Facebook page and people of other brokers maybe or other property sellers, and then you look at the comment section, walang sinasagot. It doesn't make you feel like this brand cares. So even if it takes an hour from you per day just to make sure that you're responding to people on the page, try to do that, because that is a visible metric as well for visitors, right? It's a visible action from the brand. So you want to make sure that you are illustrating at least to visitors that you have a good reputation. You're taking care of your audiences. All right, let's take a look at this case study. I'll play it first to see if there's audio. Let me know if there's audio.
Clients can take a deeper look into our company. Our real-time Facebook.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Okay. Let's start from the beginning.
Zaragoza Digital presents The first real-time Facebook cover, connecting our offline office to our online Facebook. This way, fans and clients can take a deeper look into our company. Our real-time Facebook cover gives us a new way to interact with fans. They can suggest messages to write, watch our brainstorms, celebrations, even live sporting events. Some even took the opportunity to promote their own company. The result? An immediate increase of fans and visitors to our site without any paid promotion. Click and see what we are doing right now.
So what is interesting about this case study is that it's so low tech. It's just a lot of effort. My team did this way back in 2013 with Royal, the soft drink Royal True Orange. Pinalitan namin yung Facebook cover every 3 minutes naman. This one is every 15 seconds. Why was that? It was just to get into the updates of people na something is happening. And we did that when we were in EK. We had an event, an activation, and kids would be at the photo booth, and then we get their consent. These kids meaning teenagers, so not like kids. So we get their consent. They're on the spot. Like, do you want to be on our Facebook page? If it's okay for us to use your photo booth photo on our Facebook page, we'll do it. And these kids are fans of the brand, so they said yes. And so every 3 minutes there was a new Barkada photo on the Facebook cover. That created that FOMO, fear of missing out, from a lot of the other teenagers in EK. So they flocked to the Royal activation and took photos, and we ended up with so many photos, and that created more engagement as well on the Facebook page, because there were teenagers who were commenting, "No, I want to be on the cover photo. I want to be on the cover photo. How do we get to be on the cover photo?" So we also told them, "Well, we're in EK now, but so if you're in EK, punta kayo dito sa booth namin, pwede kayo magpa-free cover photo." Tapos we print it as well for them, and then they get it as a souvenir. For Zaragoza, the whole concept here is for awareness, especially because they're a relatively small digital agency. They want people to pay attention to them as a digital agency. And if you are looking for a digital agency, you want to talk to a company that knows how to use digital platforms like Facebook. And doing this illustrated their creativity and their knowledge on how people would be interested to see digital platforms at work, in this case, through a Facebook cover. So that was very good for them in that sense. Plus, they were also aiming for people to return to the page and spend more time on the page, because that is one way for them to build consideration, right? The more you read about Zaragoza, the more you see what's happening in the office. Those are all reasons why you should trust them. And so once you're ready to look for a digital agency partner, Zaragoza might be a good option for you, because you feel like you know them by seeing their whole company culture come to life in a new Facebook cover photo every 15 seconds. So it's a very low-tech way of using Facebook. A lot of effort, of course, in terms of making the content, but ultimately it was very interesting and something that generated a lot of traffic for them as a business. My next case study is Gopro. It didn't start out as a famous Facebook campaign by Gopro, but it became super famous that they repeat this every year. It's the $1 million challenge. And what Gopro knew was that they have a huge Facebook audience. They have 10 million followers on Facebook. So how do you get people to keep coming back to your Facebook page? By doing a long game promo. They did a promo that's 3 months, and in that 3 months, people could submit clips of their Gopro videos. Sometimes the clips are like 3 seconds, sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's 1 minute. But what was cool here is that for 3 months, they collected 29,000 entries from around the world just on their Facebook account. People were commenting the videos, and after the campaign, what Gopro did was they stitched the top entries, into this 2-minute video, and if you're a Gopro fan, that's cool kasi na-feature ka. If you're not a GoPro fan, this is still really cool because now you see how people are using the GoPro. Again, what is consideration? It's giving people a reason to buy or to trust you. If you're thinking about creating a easy family video, or you want to shoot a cool looking extreme video, or if you're surfing, Now you might think about using GoPro instead of just your camera phone, right? Or your phone camera. Kalimutan ko na. We don't have to finish this, but just to illustrate how GoPro stitched the videos together. Okay, we don't have to finish it. So these two case studies should already give you some ideas, right? So if you, for example, you're gaining your cover photos is an easy trick to do. Maybe you can change it every week, every day if you want to. If you have that energy to do 30 pieces of cover photo art every for the month, just to show people like uh, could be a photo tour of properties, but using the cover photos. That's one way to do it. Think about how GoPro did it by compiling clips of their user generated content, or UGCs. If you have lots and lots of house tours, maybe you could do a quick video or quick picture of each of your tours of the properties. Maybe it's coming from your customers. Maybe they're showing their houses off to people. Ask permission, and you could probably do a compilation of house tours of Ortigas properties, and you can compile it and put it on Facebook. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. So you don't have to copy exactly how these brands are doing it. The purpose of these case studies is to allow you to think about what's possible and how can you improve on these treatments. So I can already imagine you maybe gamifying a promo where you show, the whole open the door walkthrough quick, and challenge your potential buyers to do their own version of maybe 30 seconds walkthrough. No audio, just how can they creatively show off their unit in 30 seconds. And then you could stitch it together, maybe give them incentives. It could be in the form of a discount if they eventually buy from you, but gamifying the content so that it's more interesting for people. So additional tips and tricks for Facebook. Do set aside some media budget. As I mentioned earlier, it could be 30,000 as what worked for our gym. For me personally, my own consultancy and teaching business, I spend maybe 5,000 a month, usually on Google Ads for search. If you're looking for a digital marketing professional or instructor, I only spend 5,000 a month on Google Ads and YouTube Ads. That's the budget that works for me. So it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to work for you given your target market. Second is to not rely on organic reach on Facebook. That's a big lesson here. Organic reach on Facebook is virtually zero. Stop relying on it. The brands that go viral organically is the exception rather than the norm. And you cannot hope that any of your pieces of content should go viral, right? Hope is not a strategy. Hope is a hope. So you want to make your campaign as deliberate as possible. The third is to make your page rewarding. Why would I want to visit it? Usually people do not visit Facebook pages. So you want to give them a reason to visit your page. And it has to be a good reason. Meralco's page is visited by people for a good reason. They want to know if there's a power rollback. They want to know if there's a price increase or decrease. They want to know if an area is having a brownout or power outage, right? So there's a reason for people to go there. What is yours? Why should people come to your Facebook page? Why would they want to read it instead of like looking at cute animal photos or reading a BuzzFeed article? on Facebook. Then the fourth and final one is don't forget to reply to people. Comment sections are very large, visible sections of your Facebook presence. If your content is like this big, your comment section is probably much bigger than that. So pay attention to your comment section. Try to reply to people as much as possible. Replying doesn't mean addressing the question to its completion. Replying means acknowledging that you've seen it, you've heard them, and you're formulating an answer as you go along. Before I go to Instagram, any questions on Facebook? If there's a black box, it's just me opening the chat box. Any question on Facebook? If none, just type no. Okay, no questions. Awesome. Great. Next, let's take a look at Instagram. Instagram, you probably know this. It's part of the Facebook ecosystem. One of the big three products that Facebook owns. The other one is WhatsApp. So Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, the big three. Messenger, I consider it to be under Facebook most of the time. So, but yeah, it's part of that group. It is a significantly smaller population in terms of users, but it's a favorite among influencers. And as we've mentioned earlier, influencers are gaining traction in the Philippines. So you might want to consider getting an influencer or building an influencer for your Instagram platform. So compared to the 99% of Filipino internet users on Facebook, only 14% report having an Instagram account. With that, though, Instagram is the platform of choice for Filipino influencers, with over 1/3 of them using Instagram as their primary platform. What are the opportunities on Instagram? The first is that it's a good platform to reach niche or special interest communities. So, for example, you want to reach a community of people who are really hardcore into mid-century modern furniture or very into Art Deco architecture. Then those are the two groups of communities that you will want to try and reach with very specific messaging. Maybe the way you dress your unit is in mid-century modern, or maybe you want to highlight a particular corner of the building that's roughly Art Deco. Baka hindi, kasi right now very modern yung architecture natin. But you get the point. By identifying specific groups on Instagram, either by spotting hashtags or looking for groups of people who are congregating around an account, then that could be another community that you can tap into. Two communities, very easy to tap into, would be home buddies, people who are very interested in Japandi. And because people are interested in Japandi, maybe IKEA fans are another group of people that you could reach out to and build partnerships with them. Speaking of partnerships, influencers are also important. They don't have to be real estate influencers, but they could be something that's related to real estate. For example, people who have very busy schedules, but they're still finding time to become influencers. Then they can be influencing for you in the sense that they're balancing work-life well, and the way they do that is by living near the office. That could be a story that you could latch onto. Maybe entrepreneurs is the group that you want to reach out to because you're near a mall. So may mga retail spaces for businesses, diba? Be specific with Instagram. That's how the platform will and can reward you. And anecdotally, nothing. I don't have the stats to prove this, but I know this in my gut because I use this for my clients. Instagram tends to be a wealthier platform. I have two theories for this. Number one is to use Instagram, you need to have data, like most of the time postpaid plans. So that already kind of limits your audience group. Second is that it is a platform best consumed on smartphones, generally higher end smartphones. It's a very visual platform, so having a good camera in your phone is a must. So anecdotally, it skews more premium. I've seen this happen for real estate, for automotives, for travel, especially airlines and hotels. Instagram is where you want to be if you're selling a more premium product or category, right? And people also have come to expect that for brands and businesses to be on Instagram, but there are also certain expectations. You can be on Instagram, yes, but you have to be a bit more fun, you have to be more entertaining, you have to be a bit more real. So on Facebook and on your website, you could sound a bit more corporate, but on Instagram, this is where you could be a bit more fun, a bit more friendly, a little bit like an influencer. Even if you are talking as a brand, you can tone down your language a bit more, and just be more approachable, because that is the expectation of people when it comes to brands. So what are your opportunities here? You want to show your brand's personality. Are you fun but not necessarily a joker? Can you be approachable but you're not the patapon kind of approachable? You could be serious, but your seriousness is tempered with humor or wit. So have a brand personality, and you're the best person to determine the brand personality. And your brand personality should ideally be reflective of you, right? If that's who you are, it's easier to make content in that kind of personality. Maximize as well your visual presence. One thing that I appreciate about categories like real estate is that you have a lot of photos and you have a lot of pretty photos. So maximize these, put them up on Instagram. Casual and approachable works here. You don't have to be super stiff in your captions. You can put hashtags in between your words. That's fine. That's an expectation on Instagram. And you have to play up the lifestyle angle a bit more, because nobody wants to buy a building. Nobody wants to buy a square box. People want to buy the idea that they're living their best life. They want to buy the idea of Netflix marathons on Saturday evenings at home. People want to buy the idea of being able to walk to work, very New York. They're buying into the idea now. You can go down for a cup of very expensive coffee, followed by a very expensive croissant, walk your dog in the park, and then go up your condo. They want to buy the lifestyle. So play that up on Instagram. That is what works on that platform. And finally, think about content collaboration. You don't have to make all of your content. If you find customers, previous buyers who are taking beautiful photos of your properties, message them, reach out to them, and ask them if you can use your content. I do a lot of mountaineering, so if you've ever seen my content on Instagram prior to the pandemic, I support and promote a lot of brands in mountaineering. And my engagement with them usually is that they get me my gear, because mountaineering gear is expensive, but I take photos for them because I go on big mountains. I take lots and lots of content for them. That's our collaboration. They give me the gear to test it on the mountains. I get them nice photos of the gear in action on top of mountains. So think about how you can play with your collaboration game together with your current buyers, or maybe even past customers, or even influencers. So 5 key insights on your target audience and Instagram, and how you can maximize your presence on this platform. First and foremost, when it comes to Instagram, you have to entertain first. You have to make your customers go wow. The nature of the beast of Instagram is that it has to be the pretty photo, visually pleasing, very aesthetic. Unlike TikTok, TikTok is raw. That's what works there. But Instagram is curated. You're selling a lifestyle after all, right? You're selling a desirable image of how you want your customers to feel and how you want them to live. After you entertain first, that's when you educate them second. Information is important, but it can get lost in corporate speak. So what you want to do is to focus on making them go wow, and then you add the information later on. Maybe in the captions, in the description, in the first comment even. Because information and reasons to believe, especially if you're in the consideration phase, it can be boring. It can be very boring to tell people that you're only 500 meters away from this particular office area. It can be very boring to tell people that there are 3 highways near your property, right? So you can put that as a second part of your content, not necessarily the first part. The third is to pull people in with visuals. As mentioned earlier with Instagram, it's an aesthetic platform, so great visuals will help people stop scrolling even for a split second and visit your account, hopefully, or save the photo in their Instagram accounts. So use your visuals to pull people towards you. And it doesn't have to be a picture of the building na malayo. I don't think that's very appealing, because you're buying a condo not to stare at it from 100 meters away, but it's to live in it. So focus on visuals of the interior, of the amenities, of how the unit can be dressed up, how it can be modified, people living. Show more people in your content. That's something missing a lot in real estate category content. It's all about the building. I don't want to talk about the building. I don't want to see the building. That's not how I would be pulled into the real estate category. Everyone else is doing it. So if you want to be different, you have to do something different. The fourth is to collaborate with others. You want to tell stories with other people, through other people, and that works. So if you have a person who lives in a particular property and they have a very interesting story of how they came to live in that space, do not hesitate to reach out to them. You'd be surprised. People who love or at least like a brand, when they are contacted to collaborate on making that content, more often than not they'll say yes. They have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So play up on that psyche of customers, right? It's good for them. You know, it makes them look good that a brand is featuring their story. So that could potentially work for you. And finally, experiment with format. On Instagram, you can have two formats. You have the permanent curated content, which is your feed, and you have the disposable content like Instagram stories. And you want to experiment to see which one is generating more engagement, more leads, more potential messages and conversions for you. Either the curated ones balanced with disposable or more disposable and very few curated ones. You're the only person who can tell which one, what balance is better for you. Okay, let's take a look at this case study. This is in the food category, but I love how they played with Instagram here. So enjoy. By the way, I will just go video off until we end the session because I'm playing videos now. I just want to make sure that the bandwidth is the best for your experience.
Food porn. The most delicious Instagram posts made just to spread jealousy. Have you ever thought about eating these posts? Heinz Irresistible Posts. Posts to eat instead of just like them.
Chega de passar vontade. Arrasta a tela pra cima e eu te mandei agora.
You know, that irresistible post that was on Instagram? It came out from your mobile display straight to your hands. Because the best way to like a post is eating it. Heinz Irresistible Posts. No one does it better.
So for this case study, what I want you to focus on is the lateral partnership that Heinz did. What's Heinz? It's ketchup. That's what they're selling. But they also understand that they are useful with other products. And in this case, it's with burgers. And because burgers are, you know, it's great visual. It's food. So food in general is easy on Instagram. It's easy on the eye. But it's not just food that's easy on the eye on Instagram. There's also real estate. There's travel. So airlines use a lot of Instagram. Personal care, because people want to see pretty faces on Instagram as well. So you have personal care, travel, brands, real estate, food, and also technology to a certain degree. Things that photograph well are good at Instagram. So Heinz can't just take photos of their bottles, right, of the product, because it will look like any other ketchup brand, just posting pictures of their product. So they do collaborations on how the product is being used. So they sold a lifestyle angle, which is food. So that's one thing I want you to start thinking about when it comes to Instagram. Not just the fact that real estate has great visuals, but you could tell the story in an entertaining content format, because that makes it easy for people to relate, makes it easy for people to share. Excuse me, can you just give me 30 seconds? I just need to reply to a DHL delivery guy. Okay. So yeah, think about how you can collaborate with indirect products or services, because that can also allow you to, it could allow your customers to understand what you're all about even better. Like, for example, if you're talking to young families, I don't see why you shouldn't partner with the school to have content where the school, you know, where you have a teacher there maybe talking about how the biggest challenge for them is that students are late. But then nowadays, kids are not late because they live near the condo. That's a terrible way of me explaining it, but I think you get the gist about collaboration with indirect products or services, because that will set your content apart. It just makes it different. It makes it interesting, and it shows application. And that's tough to do in the real estate category, I think. The application, right? How can people, what's the benefit of me spending more millions in your property versus this one cheaper? It's because of this application. I imagine ko siya, right? Nakikita ko siya. Some additional tips and tricks for Instagram. Have more fun on the platform. As I mentioned, it doesn't have to be so serious. It doesn't have to be super stiff as a corporate website. The second is to not have one look for content. It's important that you have brand guidelines, like your logo on the bottom corner. Maybe that's how you do it. On the bottom corner of every photo, you have to have the Ortigas logo. That's fine. Branding is different from a look. So for the look, try to have a bit more variation. Maybe there's a video now and then. Maybe there's a picture of a face. There's a picture of a room. Maybe there's a picture of a key. Maybe there's a picture of a family. There's a picture of the building once in a while. There's a map photo because you want to show the nearby facilities and offices and schools near the area. So you can have variations of content, and that makes your feed more interesting. Because on Instagram, unlike on Facebook and unlike on other platforms, you cannot see the entire content library of the brand in a feed form. So you want to ensure that your feed has that variation. Prior to this advice, but we like to have that one similar look for feeds on Instagram. That can be very boring on the eye, and you want to make your content look a bit more interesting. So have variations. Next is to use hashtags. There's different schools of thought here. There's some digital marketing professionals who will advise you to just use a few hashtags. There are some like me who will tell you to use like 10 hashtags. My point is that hashtags allow you to be searchable and allow you to be visible. Don't limit yourself just because it doesn't look good. You can put the hashtags in the comment section. It's still valid. It's still valid. In fact, that's what I've been teaching my students for the last 3 years. If you don't want to ruin how your caption looks like, then put your hashtags in the comment sections. No one is stopping you there. In terms of the mix, I would suggest have 5 to 10 relevant hashtags, things like real estate, properties in Manila, properties in San Juan. What else? New condo. I don't know what the real estate hashtags are. But look for 5 to 10 of those and add 1 to 3 branded hashtags with either your name or your property's name. Right? That's your branded hashtag. Branded hashtags are good for branding, not so good for reach. Relevant hashtags are very good for reach, not so good for branding, which is why you want to put them together. It allows your content to have maximum discoverability. And finally, the same as Facebook, don't ignore messages. Each digital touch point is a possible lead generation channel, and Instagram could even be that lead generation channel for you. So don't ignore your private messages. I was helping friends before with a premium business, reselling luxury watches, and we discovered that Instagram is a really great platform to do it. People will just message you out of the blue, and in 30 minutes, they're ready to pay. And all you have to do is go on LBC and ship it to them. So you never know. So think about Instagram as an important premium touch point. So don't ignore messages here. Next and last for our morning session today is websites. In an ideal world, I'll just drink water. In an ideal world, your website should be your primary digital channel. I understand that in the Philippines, Facebook is often the primary digital channel, but Facebook is we consider it leased media. Leased, as in you're renting. At any time, Facebook could decide to close it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas if you have a website, you have full control. That's the biggest benefit of it. I'm a huge believer that if you're a person with any sort of authority, or if you have any sort of business, you need to have a website. It's your one digital asset that you have full control of. And what's also interesting and important for you is that more than 90% of customers globally will search for brands, products, or services online. Therefore, your website is an opportunity to be present during what we call the zero moment of truth. The zero moment of truth is a 10-year-old concept by Google that explains how and why people search for products, services, and knowledge. And by being present during their moment of search, you are able to capture them as an interested customer, as a prospect. And it's important because, as I mentioned at the start of this session today, search is an act of intent. You do not search for something because you accidentally are interested in it. It doesn't happen. There is a purpose to it. You're typing down keywords that you're looking for. Your customer is actively looking for more information, looking to possibly convince themselves to make a purchase decision, and they're also comparing options out there. So to illustrate what is the zero moment of truth, I'll play this Video is a classic in digital marketing, but still very relevant.
Marketers have been using a three-step mental model of marketing for a long time. Stimulus, like developing a TV ad. Shelf, focusing on point of sale, which has historically been called the first moment of truth. And experience, people take the product home and experience it. They could have a good experience or a bad experience, and they share it. This is the second moment of truth. If marketers spend time on these three steps, they should succeed, right? We investigated this theory. We conducted a comprehensive study with research partner Shopper Sciences using 5,000 shoppers across 12 categories, from groceries to cars and financial products. The goal, show where influence takes place as shoppers move from undecided to decided. We found that the average shopper used 10.4 sources of information, up from 5.3 sources in 2010. We asked shoppers what sources they used to make decisions, when they used it, and how influential is each source. When we lined up their responses, a fourth step appeared in the marketing mental model, the zero moment of truth. This is when consumers do their research, get smart about alternatives, read reviews, look for coupons and comparison shop, all before going to the shelf. When we compare the steps, the zero moment of truth pops up as highly relevant and influential. Consumers have changed the way they have approached decision making. As a marketer, have you kept up, or are you still using the old mental model? There's a new mental model now, and marketers that can now keep all these steps spinning gain a very competitive advantage in today's marketplace.
I love that last line, data beats opinion. Anyway, so zero moment of truth, super important because this is the moment when a customer realizes they might actually want to buy your product or service, and your website is a big part of that. Think about the last time that you purchase a product or you're looking for a product that is a bit more expensive. You're going to visit a website, and if a business doesn't have a website, they're parang less credible. It's also very good for credibility building. So have a website. So 5 key insights on your target audience and websites and how you can maximize your visibility on search. I'm not here to teach you SEO. That could be an entire full day workshop in itself, but I'll give you some tips on how you can maximize a website and for you as well in terms of visibility. The first is to build a content library. This is something that I believe that businesses and individuals have. You have a lot of knowledge, and this knowledge can be a content library. Websites will add that credibility to your digital footprint, so you want to show that you are an expert. And the way to do this is by imparting that knowledge and information to other people. The second is to keep it simple. What do we mean by keeping it simple? When it comes to websites, it's quite tempting to put a lot of stuff there, but that's not how websites work. Websites are not meant for people to look at every single line and see what to read. The simplest websites are the ones where people can navigate parts of the website and go through it in 5 seconds. Like they get immediately what the website is for. This is another topic called user experience or UX and user interface, UI, UX, UI. And the best example here is the Google search bar. If you go on google.com, it's just one thing that you can do, right? It's a search bar. Why? Because Google wants you to search. That is the only thing it's meant to do. Therefore, if the simpler a website is, the easier it is for people to know what to do. On my own particular website, I only have 3 sections. It's my speaking engagements, my business strategy, consultation, and also asking you to check out my other content on YouTube. The third point is to be very clear. And on top of being very simple, be clear with what you want people to do and tell them to do that. Do you want them to contact you? Tell it in big bold letters, contact us. Do you want people to fill out a form? Tell it in big bold letters. Fill out this form below. Customers are not stupid. We're just very lazy. And you don't want to have to spend brain cells figuring things out. Also, we're also very distracted, right, in the era of digital. So the easier and clearer your message is, the simpler it is for your audience to follow your instructions and do what you want them to do. The fourth insight is to make it easy to connect. Always remember to add ways for potential customers to get in touch with you, which is why websites are usually integrated with social media accounts. Like people could immediately click a button and it takes them to your Facebook page. Click a button, it shows them your Instagram account. Click a button, it shows them a contact form. You want to use your website to make it easier for people to reach out to you. Again, they're in your website because there's an intent. They're intending to learn more. They're in turn intending to find out more information or intending to even contact you. So once they're ready to contact you, don't make it difficult for your customers. And finally, when it comes to your websites, I am a believer in showing proof of work. We are only as good as our reputations. We're only as good as our case studies. You're only as good as your past customers. You're only as good as your body of work. So if you have a strong network of past customers with great testimonials, compile them, put them on your website. If you have taken beautiful photos of all the properties that you've sold over the last years, show them on your website. If you have certain credentials and qualifications that other brokers don't have, put them on your website, because this is proving to people in the consideration phase, it's proving to people why they should trust you. You have a body of work that speaks for you, rather than you having to constantly tell people why they should believe you. Just show it. Show and tell. Show, not tell. Okay, this one, let's share with you a study, a very clever website idea. It's based off a misconception. For Bucharest. This is a tourism campaign.
Hello world, this is Bucharest speaking. Yes, Bucharest, not Budapest. Bucharest is the capital city of Romania. If you think that Budapest is, then you're in good company, my friend. Truth is, we have a long, painful history of confusions made by prestigious, geographically impaired artists like Michael Jackson. Hello, Budapest, he said. Iron Maiden, Metallica, or Lenny Kravitz. But when last year 400 Athletic Bilbao fans missed the Europa League final after mistakenly flying to Budapest instead of Bucharest, it was time to stand up. Here comes Rom, the chocolate that has Bucharest written all over it. Introducing Bucharest, not Budapest, the campaign meant to end the confusion once and for all. We opened with provocative outdoors in the welcome section of Bucharest Airport, and even in the Budapest one. This got us the first media reactions.
Atenție artiști, Bucureștiul nu este Budapesta. Este sloganul unei campanii care își propune să pună capăt confuziei între cele două capitale.
Bucharest sau Budapest? Aceasta este întrebarea. Străinii încurcă mai mereu capitala României cu cea a vecinilor maghiari.
Next, we gave Romanians the tools to end the confusion. A dedicated microsite offered a browser app between two capitals and touristic memorabilia. We made it easy for Romanians to share the toolkit with their foreign friends via social media. From there on, we rode a wave of sympathy. Main City Hotels became our partners.
Scrie clar unde au ajuns. Apoi, când urcă în cameră, îi așteaptă un alt cadou, o scrisoare în care povestim un pic istoria din spatele campaniei și, bineînțeles, 2 ciocolate cu respectivele însemne.
And touristic operators offered to create thematic tours of the capital.
Am avut ideea de a organiza tururi gratuite în oraș, să le arătăm turiștilor ce se întâmplă în oraș, să reprezentăm orașul, fiindcă cei mai mulți nu vă vin cu păreri preconcepute, nu știu absolut nimic.
This didn't go unnoticed internationally. Even more down-to-earth results were stunning. One mayor on board.
Suntem în București. Bucureștiul nu este Budapesta.
One major apology from the lead singer of Iron Maiden.
I was trying to say Bucharest. I'm very sorry for you, but I blamed the roadies.
Thanks, mate. See you next time. 12 primetime features, 215,000 euros in free media, more than 7 million media impressions, 826% social brand engagement growth, and 0 confusions between the two capitals so far.
Okay, so one of the things I love about this campaign is that their website is it's like a myth busting website. It's just to teach people that these two cities are different. That's it. It has a very simple objective, and it did the job for Bucharest. The site I checked yesterday is already down. It's medyo matagal na tong campaign na to. It's a few years na, but it's very clever. It's just about capturing people's search terms, right? So in terms of learning points here, when you own a domain name, which is the name of your website, you want it for the long term, and you want something that is clear and easily connected with your brand, your product, or your services. My website name is my social media user handle, because that's how people knew me over the years when I was teaching. And I didn't have a website before. A lot of my content I put on my SlideShare, which is the same name as my Instagram account. If I'm at events and I'm tweeting my top points, I put it on Twitter, which is the same name as my other social handle. So that became my website handle. That's just how people knew me, and that was something that I felt I could stay long term with. So when you're thinking about your domain name, spend time thinking about this, because the search engines will record these, and you want to make sure that the name is not only associated to you, but it's clear, like what it does. If you name something and it's not clear what it is, baka maisip ng tao na it's not legit, it's sketchy, baka it's a phishing website, and they're not gonna leave their email addresses in your contact form. So you want it clear, and you want to make sure that it communicates what your website is all about. And you want to populate it as well with content that people might want to share. So informative content is the name of the game when it comes to websites. The fun content, you can put that on Instagram. Semi-fun content, you can leave it with Facebook. But your more serious content, things that you want to actually write about, maybe 400 words, 250 to 400 words, that's what your website is for. It equips your customers with knowledge and more information that they will find useful later on. And think about parallel information that they might need. Maybe it's travel information from your location to their office or the CBD. Maybe it's loan or banking information that you could also write as articles, because those are all parallel topics that are useful for somebody shopping for a condo, right? Parking spaces, mga tax. If you have a location where there's street parking, pero there's a limited time, you might want to write an article about that. And when you think about writing articles for website, it doesn't have to be academically written. Just be deliberate with your keywords. Be very deliberate with your content titles. I wrote hundreds and hundreds of articles for When in Manila. I used to be a writer there until I think 2 years ago. I just didn't have time to invest in When in Manila, but yeah, I wrote hundreds of articles there, so I've learned a lot of tricks. And one of that is the article doesn't have to be. It's not poetry. It's not a Pulitzer writing competition. The name of the game for blog writing is clarity. So the more simple, the more straight to the point your sentences are, the better. And you don't have to go more than 250 to 400 words. I think my sweet spot is 250 to 300. To be honest, just because I write a lot, and 250 is very manageable. It's about a page and a half if you're writing on a Microsoft Word document, I think. Baka one page pa lang eh. So it doesn't have to be super long. You just have to be more consistent. So if you're going to invest in a website, try to have at least one article every 2 weeks. The best would be an article a week, if you can. But if not, an article every 2 weeks or 26 pieces of content a year should be manageable. So additional tips and tricks for website. The first is to build from a template. I was having a chat with Sir Mike the other day and Mark, I think, about building websites. And I'm telling you that website building, it sounds intimidating, but you can learn it. There are so many templates for website building, and 2 platforms that you can start exploring is WordPress or Squarespace. I've been building websites on WordPress, so I'm more comfortable with it. My brother-in-law naman builds his website on Squarespace. And building a website is free. It's free. Jose is asking how much is the most affordable website. It's free. But of course, it's a .wordpress.com, right? So if you want to get a domain name, that's what you buy. That's what you invest in. My website, jsncruise.blog, I am spending 1,100 pesos per year. My wife's business website that I built, fatpugkitchen.com, that's about 2,000. I think it's 2,000 per year. Per year, huh? So I'm sure that's an investment that you can make. It's 20 cups of coffee, right, over the year. It's fine, and it allows you to have presence on digital, and that's priceless. Yeah, if it includes I'm a bit of a cheapskate on my website, so it's 1,100 a year for me. I use a free template. You can have a premium or customizable template. It's a one-time cost. I think there are some templates that are like $35, $50, and then the more premium one, $99. But I haven't bought a premium template. So if you go to my website, jsncruz.blog, it's just a WordPress template with a domain that I'm spending one per year. And it's not difficult at all. My wife's website, which is fatpugkitchen.com, I'm gonna type it out here. You can check it out. We make gourmet cheese. I built that in 4 hours, and medyo nagmadali ako because that was the day I was gonna propose. Haha. She didn't know that. So she's like, "Oh, gawa ka nga ng website for the business." So instead of proposing in the afternoon, it happened at night. Kasi for 4.5 hours, gumagawa ako ng website. All you need are nice photos, good captions, and an idea of what you want to say. Then you have a website. So promise, 4 to 5 hours, kaya-kaya. Second is to not put too much stuff in it. The clearer your website is, the easier it is to navigate around, more time people will spend on it. My personal website generates at least 5 conference call invites for me a year. And it's because it's very easy to figure out what the website is for. It's to book a speaker. And you see an outline of my speaking engagements. You see videos of me speaking in front of a camera, and then you have a contact form where you could book me for a speaking engagement. So it's very simple, and that's what it's for. So think about the Google website, right? It's easy to know what it's for. It's for searching. Your YouTube homepage is for watching videos. So don't put too much fluff. The better. And if you can, connect social media plugins as well on your website. Allow your visitors the ability to share and repost your website through free social media plugins. Once you start building off templates, there's always a plugin there that connects your social media. You don't even have to think about it. I just pressed yes. And then I could put the link of my Facebook, Instagram, and my YouTube channel, and I'm good, and my LinkedIn. And finally, when it comes to websites, don't be intimidated. I know it sounds intimidating to build a website. It's not. Promise. In one Saturday, you can have a website, and it's permanent as long as you're renewing your domain. If you want to have a .com or a .blog or .com.ph, then all you have to do is renew that every year. But if you want a free website, which is .wordpress.blog or .com, that's permanent digital presence for you. So I have a question from Rona. Are free website builders like Wix and Weebly a good platform for new marketers? I think yes. The only reason I didn't put Wix and Weebly here in my samples is that I've never built a website on Wix or Weebly. I'm just familiar with WordPress or Squarespace. Some of my friends built their personal websites on Wix. It looks okay. I think the templates are quite limited, but if it's what you're comfortable with, go for that rather than trying to work on a more complicated platform like WordPress, tapos madi-discourage ka lang. I would rather na you are encouraged on the platform rather than discouraged. So yeah, okay. So some examples, like this is a typical WordPress theme page. At one point, I was using my blog right now uses 2019, the one you see here on the left. This is my template. So that's jsncruz.blog. It's free. Why not? It serves a purpose. And then there's for Squarespace, very visual, very aesthetic. So if you want to invest a bit more on visual, if you have lots of nice photos, suggest ko go for the more visual platforms like Squarespace. Maganda naman kasi talaga. We're a bit short on time. It's 5 minutes to 12. So I'm thinking we skip the break and I'll share with you the worksheet. Let me just get ready the worksheet. Get on the chat box. I am going to share with you a worksheet. You're going to download this. Download it, please. Don't edit it. If you can, avoid. Do not edit my worksheet. Just download it. Let me see if a lot of people are on the worksheet. Yep, a lot of you are there. Or just admin team, please download the worksheet also, just in case people cannot download it. You can download it for them. Just by email na lang, please. So there's a worksheet here, but seeing as our time is actually up, This is going to be a homework for you to compile for tomorrow. Okay? What I've done is that I'll take you through the worksheet first. It's divided into 6 sections: business objective, comms objective, customer stage, post-mandatories, and then unique details about the platform. So for Instagram, it's caption or copy plus image, and then for website, it's article idea and additional media. For this, I have the guide questions here in the white box. So for example, for business objective, you can see my screen, right? This should be the worksheet. So these are your guide questions. The thing I'm circling now in purple, that's your guide questions. And in case, and because this is homework, I've taken the liberty of giving you examples of how to do it. And that goes for your Facebook, that goes for Instagram, and that goes for your website. So if you've taken notes and the lesson was clear for today, you will be able to do this worksheet relatively easy. There are 3 boxes here. I'm not asking you to make 3 each, just 1 each. So everybody, please try to do 1 example for each. So 1 Facebook post, 1 Instagram post, and 1 article idea. And then tomorrow, I will get 3 to 5 of you to share with the rest of the class, or the rest of the class talaga, rest of the workshop attendees, your content plan examples. Okay? So please download this. It should be file, download, Microsoft Word. If you've downloaded it, just type in the chat box, done. If you've downloaded it, type in the chat box, done. Okay. Great. Ortiga's team, again, please download it as well in case some of our 200 attendees have not managed to download it for maybe bandwidth reasons. You're able to download it for them. Great. So there are examples. I think they're relatively straightforward. Your assignment for tomorrow is to come up with 1 content sample for Facebook, 1 content sample for Instagram, 1 content sample for website. Okay? And with that, let's get to the Q&A. Do you have any questions from day 1 so far? Someone is not able to save a file. It's probably the images, Milvinia, so it's fine. Then you can just use the link. The link, I'm not going to delete this file. It's permanent for you. You can just refer to the link. Okay, if you have no questions, that concludes our day 1 workshop. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Oh wait, I have a question here from anonymous attendee. What is the best campaign objective to use when making an ad in real estate? Most people use messages as their campaign objective. Is 300 a day budget. Okay, so ang daming parts here. Let me address. Your best campaign objective, something that leads to action, so conversion. Message is good, especially if you use a lead form ad. So if you're thinking about messages or emails, use a lead form ad. It sounds like you know already what you're doing for boosting. And 300 a day budget, I can't tell you if that's okay. You have to determine it based on your performance. So for example, if I want to, for my consulting business, 300 a day is a lot for me because I only aim to get 4 or 5 a year anyway. Then I'm actively looking for. So this is a lot for me. 300 over 1 month, this is quite a bit. But if 300 a day generates enough messages for you that you're able to close 1 or 2 a month, then that works for you. My suggestion is that experiment with 300 a day for 1 month. If the results are acceptable, maintain. If the results are not acceptable, increase until you find that sweet spot. Maybe increase to 400 a day next month. If that's unacceptable, then do 500 a day for the next month. But identify your budget appetite, no, your ceiling. Teka, hindi pala switched on yung video ko. I'm so sorry. So determine na lang your budget appetite. If 500 a day is your absolute limit, then it's not anymore the budget that is not doing the results for you. Baka it's how you write your content. Another way you can do it is you stay with 300 a day, pero change the way you write your content. Maybe use different images. Instead of showing the building, maybe show families, show pictures of the environment, show a person walking their pet. I don't know. Show the lifestyle part. Baka that can generate more leads for you. No? Ara Jane, if you're already using Squarespace scheduling or Acuity but then wala pa nakukuha appointment from the website, any suggestions on what you can do? Yes, promote your website on social media more. And tingnan mo how you write your articles and your content. I have a feeling nasa keyword issues to. Maybe you don't have any keywords in your website that people are looking for. So put yourself in the shoes of your niche target audience. What are they looking for? And then make a list. I actually have a Word document of keywords that marketing professionals might be looking for. And those are the keywords that I use for either my LinkedIn post or my YouTube channel. And that's how I get my traffic. Good question. Thank you for the questions. For Maria Emilia says, we'll gather questions for tomorrow. Yes, we have more time for Q&A as well tomorrow. Okay, any more? Question for Victor. Is it advisable to keep promoting it or extending only one ad, or do you have to keep creating new ads? This is where optimization comes into play. If you're familiar with the concept of A/B testing, it's advisable that you run 2 ads. The 2 ads are exactly the same, except for one thing. So maybe for ad A, the way you word it is live closer to work. For your ad B, is get more sleep or skip traffic. One is live closer to work, one is skip traffic. The photos are the same, the call to action is the same, the email me at this is the same. Everything's the same, target audience is the same. Then that tells you which one performs better. Let's say skip traffic gets you more messages. What does that tell you? This is your better ad. This is now that you promote longer. But ideally, for every ad set, meron kang dalawa so that you can experiment. Good question. Thank you, Malvinia. For Charlie, will I share the slides for today's session? No, I'll share them at the end of the day tomorrow kasi my slides are magkadugtong in one big file. So you'll get the slides tomorrow. Also, that's a way for you not to skip tomorrow's session. Kasi you'll see na the class plan tomorrow. Sana okay na. Any more questions? Thank you so much for those asking questions. Okay, if there are no more questions, Sir Mike, we can close our day 1 just only slightly over time. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Jason. That was a very good first day. I'm sure many of you picked up a lot of pointers how to improve your game in digital marketing, or if you're still not really, focusing a lot on digital marketing, that you're now going to be a bit more confident. So thanks, Jason. And don't forget the assignment that Jason gave you guys. Try to just work it out. And let's see, tomorrow, baka we can have some little discussion on that as well. Okay, so guys, that ends our first day for the digital marketing workshop. Thank you very much, and I hope we see each other tomorrow again. Don't forget to be logging in maybe by 8:50 or 8:55, just so that we can accommodate everybody right away. All right. So with that, enjoy your lunch and have a productive day. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody else, enjoy your lunch. Bye-bye.